What's happening? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Just chilling at home in my bedroom,
Mm-hmm.
just hanging out.
Nice bedroom. Where are you? In Jersey or California?
Neither. I'm in New York. I'm in Brooklyn.
Nice. That does look like a very New York style apartment with the exposed brick and whatnot.
Exactly.
At
Exactly.
what point did you move from Jersey? We're like, you know what? I can't. I'm moving to New York.
Um, well, I don't know. So I don't know how much like you know about my story, but I grew up in Jersey and then I went to school in Colorado and then I moved into Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I've been here for 2 years and my last apartment was like a pretty nice first apartment. Um, Definitely paying like the minimum rent that one could pay and still live like in Williamsburg, but my first apartment was like really tight, like tight space.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm living with two roommates in a four bedroom, and one of the bedrooms is a studio. So taking a deep breath these days. My home is my safe space, which I'm very grateful for. You know,
Absolutely. So how's your time been throughout all of this craziness and quarantine and stuff like that?
it's been a bit of a whirlwind, honestly. It started off very stressful and very scary, as I think it did for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything sort of went into lockdown like a month and a half before my album was slated to come out. So I was like, all right, what's gonna happen with this? Obviously, like it was released, and honestly, not that much was different. I just really didn't wasn't able to do in-person promo, which I honestly wasn't bummed about. It's sort of nice to be able to like video call into all these different places and I can be like hopping around the world from the comfort of my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. But yeah, my tours got canceled, which was a huge bummer. Um, and yeah, the live music industry is just on pause. And for people that make their livings with live music and performing, it's a very tough time. So I'm really grateful that I have this online component of my career.
Absolutely. I Are you like me? Because I am the type of person who gets hella frustrated that we're even in this situation right now. Like, how do we end up here? I just get so like I can't go out, I can't hug friends, I can't be around no one, I can't see live shows. That frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's really tough. I keep thinking about and obsessing over all of the things that we took for granted, like all of the little things, you know, hugging a friend, just having friends over for dinner, going to the movies, like going out to eat indoors. Like in New York, we can sit outside, but
Right.
it's like blisteringly hot outside. So yeah, I just can't wait until there's a vaccine, man.
I
Like
would be first in line. Sign me up so I can go back to Jersey and see family and things like that. Like I want all of that.
same. What part of Jersey are you from?
I'm from Union County,
Okay,
so like maybe 50 minutes from where you're from,
right. What town?
Rahway.
Never heard of it.
Have you ever traveled deep in Jersey?
Um, I mean, I've been, you know, to just about like the four corners. Not actually, but I've been like all the way down to Wildwood.
It's like exit
Um,
12 off the turnpike.
oh, is it really?
Yeah,
Wait, off the Turnpike or the Parkway?
turnpike.
Where is that? What part of
Like
Jersey?
it's after Elizabeth 13 and then we're Rahway's 12. Like right when you pass the refineries, the oil refineries on the turnpike, you know what I'm talking about? Staten Island.
No, I'm like not on the Turnpike a lot,
You're
actually.
not Parkway? Do you do the Parkway?
Through the Parkway, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know where I would be on the Parkway, but I used to take the Parkway a lot just in Jersey. It's so funny because when you're in Jersey and people don't understand that we, I guess, tell like how far things are from exits and stuff like that from the Turnpike and the Parkway and whatnot. And I don't
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like people understand that.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely what I grew up around, that like vernacular. I mean, the Parkway just makes more sense to me because exit 1 is exit 1 Wildwood, like it's all the way down there. And then I just know that I'm exit like 160 and that's all the way northeast.
Yeah.
So that's how simple the directions are in my mind, and if it gets any more complicated then I have no idea where I am.
Are you bad with directions?
Horrible.
You are.
Yeah, horrible with directions. Horrible with directions, horrible with faces. I'd be lost in this world if it weren't for technology.
Me too. Like I can meet someone and see that person like 5 times in a row, and then we'll see the person for the 6th time and be like, "Hi, I'm EJ. Nice to meet you." And they'll be like, "We met 5 times," and I'm like,
Luckily, when I'm at like important industry things, my manager, I'll just be like, "Yo, who's
"X
that?"
and
I
such."
know I know that
Right.
person, but I have no idea like where I know them from. We'll be like, "That's Rob. Like he's at Capitol Records, and you met him in this situation." I'm like, "Okay, word."
Perfect. It's
Yeah,
so funny because when we meet each other, when you come to the radio station, you come out to LA to the radio station, we'll both be like, "Wait, have we met?"
yeah. I'll for sure remember this.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me about like your first introduction when it came to music.
Man, my earliest memory is sitting in the car. I think my mom used to have a minivan. So it was my parents in the front seat, front 2 seats, then my brothers in the back. I had 2 older brothers. And I just remember like some CD in my Walkman and my headphones, and I was just like I was screaming the words, even though I was the only one who could hear the song. And I was really, really bad at like knowing what the words were in the song. So I would just make up my own. And I think that's like how I started writing, is just like making shit up off of what I would listen to.
Right.
But I just remember my brothers like screaming at me to shut up.
Do you remember what that song was or no?
No, but it was like around the era of I Want to Soak Up the Sun, Cheryl Crow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh my God, that song is just attached to pool parties from like first grade in my head. Like if you like, for whatever reason, just like pool parties were really big in my town when I was growing up. And I just remember going to them as like a child and that song playing, that and like Counting Crows.
Isn't it
Wow.
amazing how you can listen to a song and it brings you back to a certain period or a certain time? You know what I mean?
It's insane. The only thing that I found to do that, to like transport you better, are smells. You know,
Right.
smells like really, really bring you back to that time and place and that emotion. I read something really interesting, not to like, this is a super random
I'm a keeper of random facts. So go.
um I don't want to like misquote it, but the like in your brain, the part of your brain that processes smell is the closest part of your brain to the part of your brain that is responsible for like emotions and memories. And so that's like that is supposed to be the reason why like smell is your most connected sense to like your emotions and memories.
Right. Cause I can smell like I use this Dove soap and I'll smell it and I'll be like, wow, like it'll bring me back to back when I was working in upstate New York, poor as hell. You know, and it brings and it's so funny because I feel like I get that anxiety and the emotion that I had when I was living up there. You know what I'm saying? Like it really takes me back to that period just from one certain smell. That's crazy.
Yeah, I had a really insane experience. Like I used to, I mean, ex's colognes. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. You know, just like
Mhm.
smelling a cologne or perfume that your ex used to wear, and just immediately just like being brought back to whatever, however positive or negative that experience is for you. But I remember I used to see this girl that would always have this thing on her that smelled like jasmine.
Mhm.
um and it just smelled so good, and that was like the first time that I really like honed in on the scent of jasmine, of like above all other random flower scents. And then right after I went on tour in Asia, and we were in Jakarta, and we stayed in this hotel called the Mandarin Oriental, which is like, I guess, a big fancy hotel that's all over the world.
Mhm.
And they spray jasmine in like all the rooms and all of the hallways, and it's all you smell in the hotel. And I was loving it. And when I came home, I bought a diffuser and put jasmine oil in it, and like now my room smells like jasmine. And so it's just been connected to all of these really happy memories for me, and all of these very like calming, soothing moments. And now it just like sets it, like makes my home feel like home, you know?
Right. It's funny how you can smell something and it'll make you think of someone like, dang, I couldn't stand such and such. You know what I mean? Like that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I want to go back to so you're in your headset, you're listening to your songs. So how did that progress? So did you knew you had a beautiful singing voice or what? How did you find that out?
Um, well, thank you for saying that I have a beautiful singing voice. It wasn't. I don't think it always was that way. Um, Even now, like I'm not a classically trained singer. I have a very specific way of singing, and it's not conducive to like like operatically singing or whatever. But
Mhm.
um, I get that must have been, I must have been like 7 years old when I had that memory, and then that sort of progressed to I was taking piano lessons when I was super young, like 7 years old, and then by the time I was like 10 or 11, I got really obsessed with Blink 182, and I hated piano, and I was begging my parents to make me stop learning piano so I could learn guitar. And so I started picking up guitar, honestly, just because of Blink 182, because I wanted to learn their songs and play their songs. And their music was so simple in terms of four chords, really simple melodies. And I would learn their songs, and it wasn't that long of a jump to then start writing my own songs, because I would like look up the chords for their music, and it would be lyrics, and then it'd be like C, G, A, and those were the chords above the music. And then I would pull out a piece of paper, and I would like play a variation of those chords, and then just write my own little angsty middle school lyrics, and
Mhm.
then write the letter chords above them. And I remember having hundreds and hundreds of these pieces of paper that I can still probably dig up back at my parents' house, that are just like all of these songs that I was writing all through middle school. And I just got some friends together and was sort of in and out of bands, and I was always writing songs for the band that I was in. And simultaneously, I'm sort of picking up computer music by working on GarageBand just on an Apple computer at school. And eventually, I got a laptop at home when I was in high school, and I was able to like get Logic Pro, which is the next step up from GarageBand. And I'm just back and forth between bands and producing on my own. And like I had a couple friends that rapped that I would like make beats for and stuff. And I was sort of just like honing my craft in that way, not even really knowing it, just because I love music so much. This whole
Mhm.
time I'm thinking I'm gonna go to college and and then go to med school and become a doctor. Like that was my life plan.
Right.
And I always just did music on the side. And then, like the first month of college, I wrote this project that was very much based on off of like my first real breakup, and it felt really really honest to me, and I was really like expressing all these really intense emotions that I was having for the first time. And it came at a time where I just had the chops for being able to write and record myself and produce. And I put it on SoundCloud, and like a couple people at school knew that I was making music, and it slowly circulated. And honestly, but from that point, which was like 6 or 7 years ago, until now, I just been the only thing that has changed is the music that I put out. Like I just kept putting out music, and every time I would put out music, I would gain a little bit more of a following, and a little bit more and a little bit more, and then it just really snowballed from there.
Mhm. So how did you end up? I know you said you always wanted to like be a doctor, right, and do medicine, things like that.
Mhm.
Is that
Mhm.
how you ended up going to school for molecular biology?
Yeah, so I went to the school called Colorado College, and the main reason I went there, besides the fact that it was the best school that I got into,
Mhm.
they have this program called the block plan, where you take one class at a time instead of juggling three, four, 5 classes over a semester. And that was really attractive to me, just because I'm a horrible multitasker. And I knew that if I was only focusing on one class over a month, I would be able to ace it no matter how hard or weird it was. Because in high school, the only thing that really held me back was like forgetting about homework or shit like that. Um, so I went to school actually not knowing what I was going to major in. I knew that I was going to be pre med, but it
Mhm.
wasn't a major at my school. So I had to sort of pick a different major and then just do a pre med route, which was just like all the math classes and the science classes and organic chemistry and psychology and stuff. So I got to school, and I actually tried to be a film major at first, because one of the first classes they stuck me in was a basic filmmaking class, and I had an amazing experience in that. And I'd also been growing up like making my own movies with friends and stuff. That was just like something we did for fun.
So you
And
always had a creative mind, apparently.
yeah, I always did. But at the same time, I always really, really liked science.
Hmm.
And I I guess I've always had this left brain, right brain thing going on where
Right.
I was I'm able to think quite creatively, and that part drives a lot of my life, but I'm also very, very logical and very fact driven and very like thinking about like, all right, what do I know? Like what's real and what's tangible. And yeah, that's I had a teacher in high school that made me really, really love biology, just because it made so much sense to me. It was like the easiest class that I took in the sense of it just felt really natural to me, like learning about, the way things work and the way the world works and the way living things are. And so I sort of went into, and that's how I knew that I wanted to do medicine, partly because I knew that I would be able to do it if I really set my mind to it. And the other part is I just wanted to be successful, honestly. And I knew that that was going to be a great career. And I knew that if I, again, worked hard enough that I could do it. And so I went to school with that mindset. And I don't think I ever really truly wanted to be a doctor, though. That was just like, okay, I'm living in this world where money is very important, and you have to really work hard if you want to be successful.
Did you just
And
like the idea of being successful, or you like the idea of making money?
um you know the two have a fair amount of overlap. I wasn't in high school thinking like I want to be rich.
Hmm.
I was thinking like I want to be able to support a family, and I want to be able to not have to worry about money. That's really what it was. And my family didn't have to worry about money, and we didn't struggle. But like, I still saw a lot of worry in my family about money, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
because they
so I
probably.
was just like, I was like, I don't want to have to worry about money. I don't want to have to think about money. I like want to live a good life, and I want to be able to help people, and I want to be able to make amazing memories, and make memories with people and have a family and stuff. So I was like, okay, being a doc, like I was just thinking about all the things that I can do and all the things that I could potentially be good at, and medicine just seemed like something that wasn't going to go away.
Mhm.
Like a job that would always be there and something that was attainable for me. But I never deep down was like inspired by the idea of being a doctor, or I never felt like driven by the idea of helping people in like in a hospital type situation, you know.
Right. So fast forward, you finish or not?
I did finish college, yeah.
Nice.
So it's junior year,
Hmm.
and um I gotta get this straight in my head. It's junior year, and it's the first semester, and I am getting courted by a couple record labels just after releasing music online, and gaining traction in a really natural way. And one of the labels that I'm talking to is Republic Records. And in the spring, I'm planning on studying abroad in London. And I end up signing my deal with Republic from my study abroad program in London. I like got the contract in the mail and signed it and put it in the mail. And I was like, yay, I'm signed. And still in college. And then I had to wait till I went home for the summer to announce it. And that was like really hard to hold that news in, because the idea of signing to me was like, okay, somebody really believes in me enough to give me money and pay for all of my recording. And I was like, if a record label thinks that this could be a career for me, then I think that this could be a career for me. And that's when I knew that I wasn't going to go to med school.
Hmm.
And so I spent all of senior year. Luckily, I got all my hard classes out of the way when I was a junior, and my senior year was very much coasting. I spent all of senior year like writing music, hanging out with friends, um, chilling, and like doing well in my classes and learning, and just like being really excited to graduate. And start my music career, you know?
So when did you write Supercuts?
I wrote Supercuts last summer. So um, I graduated from college, spent that whole summer before, which is when I wrote my song Come Through,
Hmm.
and then spent my first year in Brooklyn. And then last summer, I like did a couple festivals in Europe, and then I went to Stockholm to write with Max Martin's camp, and that's when we did Supercuts.
Okay, take me on that journey. Like, how do you create something like Supercuts? Because it seems like a personal story.
Yeah, it is. Um, it's very, very personal, but it's not very specific, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So it I wrote that song with this guy James Allen and this producer Elof, and at the time they were both writers and producers at Max Martin's camp. And I had done a couple songs with James before. We wrote my previous song, "Not Your Friend,"
Hmm.
together, and wow, it was really wild writing Supercuts because I had done like a whole week of sessions with all these different producers, and I was sort of getting back to like my basics working with James because he was a familiar face. And I think the first thing that we came up with was the and I was just like playing that riff on the guitar, and James was playing the chords, and it felt like summertime, and it felt like um, I don't know, it was really wild. But the idea behind the song and what inspired all the lyrics really is, you know, I kept picturing in my mind like this suburban normalcy that I grew up around, where everyone, it's the way that my life was and the way that I grew up until I sort of had this mindset change in college, where like, all right, you go to high school and you work hard to get good grades so you could go to a good college, so you can work hard and do well and get a good job, so you can work hard and like it just seemed like this constant cycle of like doing things the way that everyone else was doing them because that's the way people do things. And I really have struggled with maintaining that, but also wanting to find my own way in the world and taking the road less traveled, because this is the only life that we get to live.
Hmm.
And why am I not going to see what else is out there? And so the songwriting came from this fear of like ending where I started up. Like, no offense, but I don't want to end up in Jersey. Not because I don't like Jersey, which isn't true, but because why would I not want to see what it's like living somewhere else in a completely different circumstance? And if I don't like that new circumstance, then I'll go back to Jersey, you know?
Let
But
me let
like
me
it
no
just
offense taken because I left probably in 2013 and have not looked back since. Like it's cool to go back and visit, but the one thing that gets to me whenever I go back, and I'm sure people feel this way whenever they go back to their hometowns, like it's the same people or the same store, and it's like you have not left to see the world. You know what I mean? There are people that have never lived anywhere else but that same place in the same state. So I want to see, same as you, I want to see so many different places. I want to live in different places just so I can grow culturally. You know what I mean?
seriously, it the more places you live and the more places you spend time, it opens your mind. And coming from college where like a lot of people studied abroad, that was like the most cringy thing you could hear. It's like, oh, being in another country like really opens your mind. But honestly, like it broadens your perspective,
It
you
really
know?
does.
And like if all you know is this little town that you grew up in, this the world is massive, and like we're gonna pretend like we know everything just by from sitting in one corner of it for your whole life, you know. I'm privileged enough to have the freedom to not end up where I started, you know.
100%.
So
100%.
I'm going to utilize that, you
So
know.
what's next?
What's next? That's a very open question.
Fill it in on how you feel.
um what's next? So Supercuts is out. Really excited to see, you know, how it does, and where it's played. Right now, I'm working on a couple of things that are sort of secret right now that I can't really talk about. But I guess what I can talk about is
Go ahead, whisper it in my ear, buddy.
I'm working on new music, which is exciting. I just moved into a new studio space, which I think I mentioned before.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm just really trying to grow as an artist and to, it's weird. Like I've always been aware that I'm like a pop artist, but I've never like seen myself as a pop artist, more just as an artist that exists in the pop space. So I'm really trying to, especially post debut album, really trying to like express myself to the world about who I am, because I know that I'm not how a lot of people see me just from surface level viewing my music and knowing me. So I'm really excited to really
See
challenge
yourself
myself.
evolve.
Yeah, see myself evolve, challenge myself creatively and artistically and musically. And yeah, I'm just not like a lot of the other artists that I'm grouped with, not to throw shade, because I'm not, but
No,
yeah,
you're you and they're them.
yeah, exactly.
Well, this was a honor. I really appreciate you chatting from your fancy Brooklyn apartment. I really do appreciate the conversation.
Thanks, EJ.
Of course.